Firstly, I want to acknowledge this is a complaint. I am pointing out problems as I see them, not offering solutions. I don't really have solutions to the current problems, as what's been done won't be reversed. In Little Big Snake, I think there are two categories of players. Firstly, people who play seriously, and secondly, people who do not. People who play seriously include feeders, non-feeding high-scoring players, and the occasional hunter/fighting player. These players have some specific, defined goal when they play that they work towards. In the case of feeders and non-feeding high-scoring players, this goal is achieving a specific high rank. It follows that the second category of players is people who do not play seriously. These players log into the game and whatever happens, happens. They do not have some specific goal in mind while playing. They may have intentions, such as, I want to kill the rebel or I want to get a lot of mass, but these mindsets are very different from the ones serious players adopt. I have not been enjoying Snake game recently. Most players refuse to fight me, where they would have fought a year ago. In NA at the very least, there is an aggressively increasing trend towards passivity. Where I could get over 50 rebel kills consistently in a single day 2 years ago, I can barely reach 40 today despite the fact that I have max pets and therefore should have an advantage over most players. 2 years ago, before pets were introduced, I capped at over 100 rebel kills in a single day. Beyond this, when I am rebel, many players will play as parasites. They will spawn teammates, or wait for other players to kill each other, and then eat mass without doing any work. Though this happened 2 years ago, it is taken to the extreme today. I often see multiple players who used to fight circling in the middle of the map with over 1 mil while I'm rebel, wandering around fighting teams of 10 kilograms, wondering why I'm not gaining any mass. Sometimes even, I'll be rebel and attempt to fight someone who's been in the area for a while. Sometimes these players have more than 10 times less mass than I do. Most of the time these players don't even make a pretense at fighting. They just turn tail and run. Sometimes when I show up to hunt players who are fighting, they start circling on the spot. The absolute worst is when people hunt me, and when I hunt them they do these things and start spamming emojis, like laughing or hearts. These people know full well the double standard they're exacting. They understand they're making me feel like shit, and they revel in it. That's just depressing. One time I started hunting someone who I can hear on a voice chat. One of their teammates literally tells them, unless you have binoculars don't head vertically because Sin is on the server and he'll track your name. A lot of players have told me to take this as a compliment. It is not a compliment to me. I do not play the game with some goal in mind. I don't want to be the best. I don't care about being the most skilled. I just want to play the game and have fun. Not only does playing this way partition me out and deny me my game while allowing others theirs, it implies these players don't care to learn to play without binoculars. Simply because they can't be bothered to learn these strategies, they deny me my game. There are a lot of things that I feel could have made me quit. Pets are pay to win and unfair. Atomic glitching ruins any fair chance I have against players who also have atomic, and I absolutely dominate players who don't have it, which is no fun either. The game is incredibly laggy for no reason oftentimes, despite my connection being fantastic and my computer easily able to handle the graphics. I have a whole blacklist of players I don't want to hunt because they'll waste half an hour without killing me once, and another blacklist of people who are just dicks or have hurt and lied to me in the past, against whom I suicide on sight. It's almost amusing to me that none of these things are what's driving me away. The thing that's driving me away and has always driven me away is passivity. Recently I collected 500 rebel kills again and I hated it. It was awful. One of the least fun grinds I have ever done. I remember how I felt collecting my first and second set of 500 kills, and along with my 300 kill video, the increasing passivity of players is palpable. The culture of the game has changed and I hate it. So I started considering, when did this change start and what caused it? What is the difference between today and 2 years ago? The easy answer is to say, pets. People just don't want to fight now that the game is pay to win. Players without pets get destroyed by players with pets. Players with pets can destroy players without, so why bother fighting players who do have them? On top of this, glitching means that fighting players can be inconsistent. One moment you're fighting someone, you're ahead, and they die. The next, the situation is the exact same except you're twice as far ahead as last time and you die. It is understandable how this could make players reluctant to fight each other. However, though I think this significantly contributes to the problem, I do not think it is the root of the problem. I think the root of the problem is dungeons, and it all ties back to the concept of serious and non-serious players. The vast majority of serious players are feeders or high-scoring non-feeders. Feeding is obviously a huge issue, but it's been around for a while. Feeders have gotten much better at feeding over time, making it very difficult for non-feeders to compete for slots in the rankings. This means that, for high-scoring non-feeders, collecting bonuses is more important than collecting mass. Feeding is a problem, but this is a problem as well. It means that rankings are not only meaningless for feeders, they're basically meaningless for non-feeders too. This may seem strange until you consider that the rankings are intended to be a measure of a player's prowess in the arena. Grinding bonuses for an hour requires some skill and a lot of patience. In some ways this is impressive. However, the ranks that these players achieve do not reflect their prowess in the arena whatsoever. Though high ranks for non-feeders often correlate with skill, this correlation is caused because they care about the game. The rank itself is not caused by skill. Therefore the entire rating system is invalidated. This drives most players away from attempting to achieve rating or rank. However much better at the game they become, their rating will cease improving because rating is no longer a measure of your prowess in the arena. It's a measure of your ability to game the rating system. So players who normally care about rating stop caring so much about it and start caring about something else. Their mass. I think that, ultimately, mass has always been the best measure of a player's prowess in the arena. To quote someone else, eating mass is fun. And it is. Eating mass is very fun and satisfying. Before dungeons, the best way to get mass was to fight other players. The more dense a server was, the more mass there was and the more rewarding it was to do well. Players would clump in groups and fight in order to gain mass. However, this changed significantly with the introduction of dungeons. A player with the right buffs, max pets, and using the right pets entering a Juja dungeon cannot be killed by another player and can easily and consistently gain over 1 million mass. This is an extremely safe way of gaining mass. Players who enter dungeons aren't really interested in fighting other players, they intend to eat as much as possible and get big. Fighting other people is risky. You might die. Running around in a dungeon while mass lays around everywhere is not particularly risky. This also affects players who do not use dungeons. Players with dungeon mass are often large and can inflate a server out of proportion. Mass gained through dungeon players can feel cheaty, like I'm gaining a lot for doing nothing at all. Oftentimes I'll end up with over 2 mil and 30 kills when I easily kill just a couple dungeon players, while in another hard-fought game I'll have over 100 kills and barely 1 mil mass. Oftentimes I'll become rebel and then suddenly a dungeon reopens and I'm number 7 on the leaderboard. Oftentimes I'll be rebel and try to fight people, then a dungeon spawns and every single player in the server leaves for 3 minutes while I sit there like a dunce not knowing what to do. In summary, dungeons have totally changed the culture of the game. I consider dungeon spamming akin to feeding because of how easily you accumulate mass, especially for max pet players. Trust me, if you have max pets, find a server with a rebel who refuses to die and use Armadillo, Water Carrier, and Moonwalker. Sit and farm bonuses and don't fight anyone until a dungeon spawns. Maybe get a friend to circle the dungeons after you go in and to provide you quality spawns once you exit the dungeon. Maybe have that friend be the rebel so you don't become the rebel. I promise you can hit 4 mil in just a couple minutes. Why should a player fight me when they can just use a dungeon, or fight another player who used one and is probably a more rewarding target? Of course, as I stated earlier, pets and atomic glitches exacerbate the issue in the ways I discussed. The past 3 major updates, in my mind, have been Dungeons Pets and this GUI rework. All have been disappointing to me. It feels like they were all rushed because the company wanted profit, without considering the effect they'd have on the player base. Things that players consistently request are routinely ignored in favor of unfair and glitchy features. For example, if you have enough rubies to randomly get a new skin, you receive a notification in the lair every time you load in for the first time. Every time. Even if you already have every skin. If you go to Snake Games' title page and scroll down, you'll see the words "Snake your way through the competition to complete missions, upgrade your skills and destroy other players." If you scroll down a bit more, you'll see "Cute and dangerous snakes inhabit the world. Fight with friends against your enemies." These are the stated intentions for how the game should play out, by the company which owns the game. These elements are the things I found fun. Yet, in the past year, I have only truly enjoyed playing the game for about 2 weeks, and unfortunately it had nothing to do with the game anyway. Addicting Games has stated the culture that they want, yet the buggy updates they've rushed through have caused said culture to become the polar opposite. I find no point playing a multiplayer game where everyone ignores each other, and this is what dungeons have created.